Episode 3, The Folk Awakening, Songs with Targets.
This land is your land, and this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me.
Sounds wholesome, right? A song you learned in school, a campfire classic. Here's what they didn't tell you. Woody Guthrie wrote this as a middle finger, a protest disguised as a postcard. And on the face of his guitar, 4 words that made him a one-man revolution. This machine kills fascists. Act 1. This machine kills fascists. Woody Guthrie wasn't born a revolutionary. He was made one by America itself. Born in Okemah, Oklahoma in 1912, a boomtown that went bust faster than a rigged poker game. His father was a land speculator who lost everything. His mother went insane and died in a state hospital. And Woody? He learned early that the American dream was a con job. By the 1930s, the Dust Bowl had turned Oklahoma into hell with tumbleweeds. Families packed everything they owned into jalopies and headed west, chasing rumors of work in California. Woody went with them, not in a car, but riding freight trains, sleeping in hobo camps, watching America's refugees get treated like criminals. That's where he learned his first lesson about power. When the system breaks, it doesn't break for everyone equally. Rich folks got bank bailouts. Poor folks got billy clubs. Woody picked up his guitar not for entertainment, but for survival. In migrant camps, music was currency. Play a song, get fed, make people laugh, get a place to sleep. But Woody wasn't content with just getting by. He wanted to get even. His lyrics weren't poetry. They were labor reports with melodies. I Ain't Got No Home wasn't a metaphor. It was journalism. Every verse documented what the rich were doing to the poor. Every chorus was an indictment you could hum. But the real weapon wasn't just the songs. It was that sticker, slapped right on his guitar, "This machine kills fascists." In the 1940s, that wasn't hyperbole. Nazis abroad, corporate barons at home. And Woody saw both as the same disease, greed with a gun. Here's what made Woody dangerous. He proved that one man with a guitar could be more threatening than armies. Not because of volume, because of truth. His songs didn't just entertain the downtrodden, they organized them. Union organizers played his records at meetings. Striking workers sang his songs on picket lines. And the FBI, they opened a file on him thicker than most crime bosses. Because Woody had figured out something the establishment feared. Music was the perfect organizing tool. It bypassed rational defenses, went straight to the heart, and stuck there like glue. Was Woody Guthrie a communist? The FBI spent decades trying to prove it. They never could. Not because it wasn't true, but because Woody was something more dangerous than a party member. He was a free radical. This was the height of the Red Scare, when being called a communist could end your career, destroy your family, and get you blacklisted from everything from Hollywood to the local diner. The House Un-American Activities Committee was dragging artists in front of Congress, demanding they name names, destroy their friends to save themselves. But Woody was slippery. He'd show up at Communist Party meetings, sing their songs, take their money, then disappear when they wanted him to toe the party line. He'd write columns for the Daily Worker, the communist newspaper, but fill them with jokes and folk wisdom instead of orthodox Marxism. The truth was, Woody was too American to be a good communist, and too radical to be a good American. He believed in workers over bosses, poor folks over rich folks, truth over propaganda, no matter who was selling it. When the Soviets signed their non-aggression pact with Hitler in 1939, American communists had to pretend fascism wasn't so bad anymore. Woody kept singing about killing fascists. When the party line changed again after Hitler invaded Russia, Woody was already there, guitar in hand, grinning. That's what scared them, not his politics, his independence, a man who couldn't be bought, controlled, or contained, a man whose only loyalty was to the dispossessed. That kind of person doesn't fit in files. They rewrite the whole system. Act 2. The Internationale, the song that terrified governments. Before we talk about the FBI's folk music obsession, we need to talk about the song that taught governments worldwide to fear music. The Internationale, written in 1871, banned in more countries than any other song in history, and the reason authorities started keeping files on musicians in the first place.
Stand up, all victims of oppression, for the tyrants fear your might. Don't cling so hard to your possessions, for you have nothing if you have no rights. Let racist ignorance be ended, for respect makes the empires fall. Freedom is merely privilege extended, unless enjoyed by one and all. So come brothers and sisters, while the struggle carries on. The Internationale unites the world in song. So comrades, come rally, for this is the time and place. The international ideal unites the human race. Let no one build walls to divide us, walls of hatred nor walls of stone. Come greet the dawn and stand beside us. We'll live together or we'll die alone. In our world poisoned by exploitation, those who have taken, they must give. And then the vanity of nations, we make one earth on which to live. Some brothers and sisters, for the struggle carries on. The Internationale unites the world in song. So comrades, come rally, for this is the time and place. The Internationale unites the
Eugene Potier wrote the lyrics in 1871, hiding in Paris while government forces massacred the Paris Commune. Thousands dead, the revolution crushed, and this postal worker pens what would become the most dangerous song ever written. Arise, ye wretched of the earth. Arise, ye prisoners of starvation. These weren't metaphors, they were marching orders. When Pierre de Guiter added the melody in 1888, he created something unprecedented, a song that could organize international revolution. By 1900, the Internationale was being sung at strikes across Europe, America, and Asia. Same melody, different languages, same revolutionary message. This was the first truly global protest anthem, and governments noticed. The song was banned in Germany, Russia, and France. Singing it could get you arrested, fired, or deported. In America, the Palmer raids specifically targeted gatherings where the Internationale was sung. For the first time, governments realized that certain songs were weapons. But here's what made it unstoppable. It was designed to be learned and passed on. Simple melody, memorable chorus, universal message. Every worker who learned it became a distributor. Every strike became a classroom. By the 1917 Russian Revolution, the Internationale wasn't just a protest song. It was the soundtrack to regime change. When the Bolsheviks took power, it literally became a national anthem. Music hadn't just supported revolution, it had helped create one. American labor organizers learned from the Internationale's success and started building their own arsenal. Florence Reese wrote "Which Side Are You On?" during the Harlan County coal strikes of 1931, and it spread through mining camps like wildfire. Come all you good workers, good news to you I'll tell, of how the good old Union has come in here to dwell. This wasn't entertainment, it was recruitment. Every verse named specific company owners, specific battles, specific stakes. Ralph Chaplin's "Solidarity Forever" became the industrial workers of the world's unofficial anthem. When the Union's inspiration through the workers' blood shall run, there can be no power greater anywhere beneath the sun. These songs didn't just reflect labor consciousness, they created it. By the 1930s, the federal government had learned that banning songs just made them more powerful. The Internationale had proven that martyred music spreads faster than censored speech, so they developed subtler tactics: surveillance, infiltration, and economic pressure. Which brings us to the FBI's folk music collection program and their discovery that American protest music was following the Internationale playbook. Simple melodies, powerful messages, designed to spread through working-class networks. You know who really loved Woody's music? The FBI. They had a whole file on him, thick as a Woody box set. But they weren't the only federal agency collecting folk songs. Welcome to America's secret war on dangerous music. J. Edgar Hoover understood something most politicians missed. The Internationale had proven that certain songs could organize international movements. The Bureau wasn't just tracking individual communists anymore. They were tracking the songs that created communists. Woody's file was FBI case number 100 HQ135124, but it was part of a larger program cataloging dangerous music. They had files on every song that mentioned strikes, unions, or workers' rights. They knew that Solidarity Forever was more dangerous than most political speeches. Bureau agents attended folk concerts, infiltrated union meetings, and recorded singing sessions. They were building a database of songs that could spark labor unrest, because they'd learned from the Internationale that the right song at the right moment could shut down entire industries. Meet Pete Seeger, Woody's protege, banjo evangelist, and the man who proved that the Internationale's tactics could work in America. Pete didn't just sing labor songs, he weaponized them. Pete had learned from studying how the Internationale spread through European labor movements. He founded the Almanac Singers with Woody, but their real innovation was teaching other people to teach the songs. Every concert became a training session. When HUAC dragged Pete in front of Congress in 1955, they weren't just attacking one man. They were trying to break the transmission system that had made Solidarity Forever and Which Side Are You On into organizing tools that built actual unions. Pete's response became legendary. I am not going to answer any questions as to my association, my philosophical or religious beliefs, or my political beliefs. But what he was really protecting wasn't his own beliefs. It was the network that spread dangerous songs to dangerous people. The punishment was swift and total. Pete got blacklisted from television, radio, and major concert venues. The Weavers, his group, had been selling millions of records. Suddenly, they couldn't get airtime. Record stores stopped carrying their albums. Concert halls canceled bookings. This wasn't just censorship. It was economic warfare. Take away someone's ability to earn a living, and you don't have to kill them. You just make them disappear. And the beauty of it? It looked like market forces. No government censorship here, just business decisions. By the late 40s, folk music wasn't campfire entertainment. It was contraband. And in America, nothing sells faster than what you ban. The machine was about to learn that lesson the hard way. But you can't kill an idea by filing it away. While the FBI collected folk songs like evidence, the songs themselves were being reproduced in the shadows. Welcome to the Underground Railroad of dangerous music. Greenwich Village became ground zero for the resistance. Little clubs with names like The Gaslight, The Bitter End, Gerd's Folk City. You couldn't get Pete Seeger on Ed Sullivan anymore, but you could catch him in a basement club where 50 people paid $2 to hear the songs television wouldn't play. These weren't big concerts. They were conspiracies. Folk singers passed songs between them like secret messages. A song Woody wrote in California would surface in a Chicago coffeehouse 3 months later, with new verses added by whoever learned it. The beauty of folk music was its adaptability. You couldn't copyright a melody that had been passed down for generations. You couldn't ban a song that existed in 100 different versions. Every time they killed one version, 3 more sprouted up. Meanwhile, something else was happening. The kids who'd grown up during the Depression and World War II were hitting college campuses. They'd lived through real hardship, real sacrifice, and the sanitized pop music of the 50s felt like lie. Folk music offered something pop couldn't: authenticity. These were songs with dirt under their fingernails, songs that had been tested in real struggle. When Pat Boone was singing about puppy love, folk singers were singing about real love, love of justice, love of truth, love of the dispossessed. College radio stations started playing what commercial radio wouldn't touch. Folk clubs sprouted on campuses from Berkeley to Harvard, and slowly, quietly, the underground was preparing to surface. Act 3. The folk boom. Trojan Horse Rebellion. The 50s tried to kill labor music and folk protest with blacklists and FBI files, but by the early 60s, something unexpected happened. The songs came back, sanitized, commercialized, and stripped of their original power. But they came back. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. 3 clean-cut college boys called the Kingston Trio. Their version of Tom Dooley, a traditional murder ballad, hit number 1 in 1958. Suddenly, folk music wasn't dangerous contraband. It was a chart topper. But here's the twist. The Kingston Trio had sanitized everything. They took the danger out of folk music, turned labor organizing songs into entertainment, and made revolution safe for suburban consumption. Solidarity Forever became a history lesson instead of a call to action. Record executives smelled money. Folk music was cheap to produce, just voices and acoustic instruments. And if kids wanted to feel rebellious without actually rebelling against anything specific, perfect business model. But something strange happened when labor songs hit mainstream radio. Which side are you on? Got covered by everyone from the Almanac Singers to later folk revival acts. But the context had been completely stripped away. The original Florence Reese version named specific mine owners, specific battles, specific sides in an actual labor war. The folk revival versions turned it into a generic anthem about choosing between good and evil. Same melody, neutered message. Solidarity Forever got the same treatment, from a song that actually built the industrial workers of the world into a nostalgic reminder of when workers used to organize. The music survived, but the organizing power had been surgically removed. Bob Dylan was the bridge between Woody's labor organizing and mainstream success. He borrowed Woody's musical DNA, but he was smart enough to avoid the specific political commitments that had gotten previous generations blacklisted. Blowin' in the Wind had the emotional power of the Internationale, without the specific political program. How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? It felt revolutionary, but it didn't tell you which barricades to build. Dylan understood something the Kingston Trio missed. You could sneak dangerous feelings past the censors if you wrapped them in beautiful ambiguity. The answer, my friend, is blowin' in the wind. That wasn't just poetry. That was camouflage. By 1965, record labels had figured out the formula. Take songs that once organized actual workers, remove the specific political content, keep the emotional resonance, and market the result as authentic folk music. The Internationale had terrified governments because it gave workers a shared identity across national borders. The folk revival gave middle-class college kids a shared identity across coffee shops. Same emotional mechanism, completely different political outcome. The system had learned its third lesson. Don't kill dangerous music, domesticate it. Let people feel revolutionary while changing nothing about how power actually works. Act 4. The folk revival taught everyone something important. The artists learned that music could organize armies, that songs could carry dangerous ideas past every defense system ever built. But the establishment learned something too. Dangerous music didn't have to be killed. It could be surveilled, branded, and eventually defanged. Woody Guthrie's guitar said, "This machine kills fascists." But by the time Bob Dylan went electric in 1965, the machine had learned to kill fascists softly, with market forces instead of police raids, with co-optation instead of censorship. The folk boom created something unprecedented, a generation that expected their music to mean something. Kids who'd grown up singing "We Shall Overcome" weren't going to be satisfied with love songs forever. And when the Vietnam War escalated, they were ready. The amps were about to get louder, the stakes were about to get higher, and the counterculture was about to discover what happened when you turned acoustic protest up to 11. The folk awakening had lit the fuse, but before it could explode into the electric revolution of the late 60s, something else happened. Vietnam caught fire, draft cards burned, and the children who'd learned to sing protest songs in coffee houses were about to plug in and turn the volume all the way up. Next time, Woodstock, Vietnam, and the soundtrack that tried to stop a war. End episode. Episode 3.